Good afternoon to you. Today we will continue with the Constitution, State Legislature. We have completed almost all portions of State Legislature. We are coming to legislative privileges. See, the legislative privileges, we have already seen parliamentary privileges. Under Article 105 of the Constitution, we have covered parliamentary privileges, both collective privilege as well as individual privileges. What is contempt of parliament, what is breach of privilege, what are the freedom available to the members of the parliament and members of the committee and individually and in the house, what is the collective privileges, all these things we have already seen. Because now we are coming to state legislature, let us see what are the privileges with regard to the state legislatures, assembly and the council. They are all more or less same, but we will see again. As you know, the legislative privileges are divided into two categories. Number one, the privileges enjoyed by the each house of the legislature collectively. Number two, the privileges enjoyed by the members individually. So, what are the collective privilege and what are the individual privileges? Collective privileges of each house of legislature can be tabulated. Number one, the right to publish the reports, debates and proceedings, and also the right to prohibit others from publishing the same. Right to publish and right to prohibit such publication. Both rights are available to the house. Number two, to exclude strangers from the proceedings of the house and also to hold secret sittings whenever necessary. Number two. Number three, to make rules to regulate its own procedure, conduct the business of the house, and also to adjudicate upon such matters. With regard to the procedure, if there is any question, no outsider will solve it. Only the house collectively will solve it. In other words, even court cannot enter into the arena of the legislature. If there is any dispute, if there is any problem within the conduct of the house procedure, then it is only for the house to resolve it. No external pressure can resolve the dispute. Remember, this is number 3. Number 4, to punish the members as well as the outsiders for breach of privilege and contempt of the house by way of reprimand, admonition, even imprisonment, in addition to expulsion, suspension in the case of members. So, this is how to deal with the contempt. Then, right to get immediate information about the arrest, detention, conviction, imprisonment, and release of its members. Next, to institute inquiries and order attendance of the witnesses and also send for relevant papers and records for examination and scrutiny. Most importantly, remember, the courts are forbidden to inquire into the veracity of the proceedings of the house because clear separation of powers. The House will not interfere into the arena of judiciary, neither judiciary can enter into the arena of legislature. Separation of powers. No person, be a member or an outsider, can be arrested and no legal process can be initiated against him within the premises of the House without the permission of the presiding officer. Without the permission of the presiding officer within the premises of the state legislature. Then, what are the individual privileges of the members of the legislature? Individual privileges. Number one, the members enjoy absolute freedom of speech and expression within the state legislature. He is not liable to any proceedings in any court of law for anything said or any vote given by him in the legislature or in any other committees. For this freedom, remember, there are only two restrictions. What are the restrictions? The article itself starts like this: subject to the provisions of the Constitution. That is, the restrictions given in the Constitution. What are the restrictions? Number one, no discussion can take place either in the Parliament or in the state legislature on the conduct of the judge, except upon a motion for his removal. In the case of Parliament, it is governed by Article 121. In the case of state legislature, it is governed by Article 211. This is the constitutional restriction. One more restriction is there. Both the houses of Parliament and the state legislatures have devised its own procedure to regulate the proceedings of the House, under which no unparliamentary language can be used against a member or against an outsider who is not present in the House, because he has no opportunity to defend. So, the members who violate these norms can be suspended, reprimanded, warned, even expelled, or even imprisoned by the House and also by the Speaker in some cases. Then, the members cannot be arrested during the session of the state legislature and 40 days before the start of the session and 40 days after the end of the session. Remember, 3 during the session, 40 days before the session, 40 days after the session. This protection is available only in civil cases, not in criminal cases, neither in preventive detention cases. Criminal cases, this protection is not available, immunity is not available. PD, preventive detention cases, this immunity is not available. Only in civil cases, it is available. With this, we end the what is known as state legislative privileges. Now we are moving to the next topic. State judiciary, that is High Court. You know, we have an integrated judicial system. We have now two judiciaries, state judiciary and central judiciary. We have only integrated judicial system. What are the articles governed? 214 to 231. So, 214 to 231 of the Constitution deal with the organization, independence, powers, jurisdiction, etc. of the High Courts. At the state level, we have the High Court, which is lower strata to the Supreme Court. Above High Court, there is only Supreme Court. Below, there are subordinate courts. Hierarchy of subordinate courts. Let us go to the background. In 1862, which year? 1862. The High Courts were first set up in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras under Indian High Court Act of 1861, 1 year before. So remember 1861 High Court Act, in pursuance of which three High Courts were set up. Bombay, Madras and Calcutta. When? 1862, 1 year after the enactment. Fourth High Court, 1866. Where? Allahabad. So total 4 High Courts straight away. Then during varying period, you remember we have so many provinces and so many native kingdoms. So each province has got a separate High Court subsequently. So when India got independence and when the Constitution was set up, Constitution enacted 1950, each High Court in the province became automatically the High Court of the state concerned. As per the Constitution, each state should have a High Court. However, 7th Amendment Act 1956, when 7th Amendment Act 1956 empowered the Parliament to set up a common High Court for 2 or more states or for 2 or more states and 1 union territory. Similarly, the territorial jurisdiction of the common High Court was made to be coterminous with the territories of the states and the union territories. What is the origin? 7th Amendment Act 1956. Now, how many High Courts are there at present? 25 High Courts are there, of which 3 have jurisdiction over more than 1 state. 3 have jurisdiction over more than 1 state. Of 9 union territories, only Delhi Union Territory has a full-fledged High Court. Since when? Since 1966. Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh have a common High Court. And the rest of the UTs, 6 UTs, fall under different High Courts. Now, each High Court consists of 1 Chief Justice of the High Court and such other number of judges as the President may consider it necessary. In other words, Constitution did not prescribe any strength of the judges in the High Court. It is only the discretion of the President of India. The judges of the High Court are appointed by the President. In the appointment of Chief Justice of the High Court, the President should consult the Chief Justice of India and the governor or governors of the concerned state. In the case of appointment of other judges of the High Court, the President should invariably consult the Chief Justice of the concerned High Court and the governor or governors of the concerned state, in addition to, of course, governor, as she said. The above is the constitutional provision. Remember, above is the constitutional provision. There are lot of changes undergone due to the various decisions of the Supreme Court. Popularly called four judges case. First judge case came in 1981. This is called first judge's case. Then came second judge's case, 1993. Then came third judge's case, 1998. Then came fourth judge's case, National Judicial Appointment Commission. That is, after that act, Constitutional Amendment Act came into force in 2015, that was nullified by the Supreme Court. That is also called fourth judge's case. You should kindly appreciate, very important point. Remember, neither there is any constitutional provision for the collegium for appointment of judges, nor there is any parliamentary act to regulate the appointment of judges. See, there is no constitutional appointment, there is no constitutional provision. Constitutional provision totally different. There is no mention about collegium in the constitutional provision. And there is no act made by the parliament to regulate the appointment through collegium. Neither constitutional provision nor a enactment, but what we follow is that based on the judgment of the Supreme Court. That is called fourth judge's case. First judge, second judge, third judge, fourth judge's case. So, here, if you go into that, we will discuss very deeply. If you go into detail of this, the origin comes in 73, 24th April 1973. Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. Till then, it is who is powerful. Legislature is powerful or judiciary is powerful. That struggle was going on. Finally, it was put a stop. Judiciary is powerful. How? Kesavananda Bharati case said, don't touch the basic structure. The other two, it is a call, it is a challenge, it is a mandate to the other two wings of the state, executive and the legislature. Don't encroach upon the basic structure of the constitution. 24th April 1973. 24th April 1973. Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala. Largest bench, 13 judges, though 7:6. Majority is only 7 judges out of 13. They said there is a basic principles, basic structure of the constitution. Don't violate this basic structure. The term amend is only amend. It is not overhaul. You cannot curtail. There is a soul of the constitution. You cannot, by giving the limited power, you cannot convert the limited power into unlimited power. Don't do it. Henceforth, don't touch the constitution in such a way as to completely change the dimension of the constitution. And see, through various judgments, they also said, independence of judiciary is a basic structure. So, independence of judiciary is a basic structure means How can the executive and legislature put together select the judge? It violates the basic principle of independence of judiciary? No. That is why what is called this National Judicial Appointment Commission Act, Constitutional Amendment and Act was nullified. We will see the cases one by one in the next class. Thank you.